guys, here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends Iron Twins Fortress. I have the exclusive for you guys today, an unlisted video on Raid Shadow Legends YouTube channel. Let's figure out how these Iron Twins work and what type of champions that we'll need, what type of teams we'll need to assemble. And I do say teams plural because it looks like we'll have to have 4 separate teams, one for Spirit, Magic, Void, and Force Affinity. Let's go ahead and watch this video and react to it, guys. Again, I'm going to skip over the Awakening stuff. I've already reviewed that stuff on a previous video. In case you guys missed it, I will link it in the description below. So here we go.
Iron Twins Fortress, a new dungeon where you'll earn the soul coins and soul essence needed for Awakening. This imposing fortress works a little differently to other dungeons. It's divided into the 4 affinities, with its affinity changing each day. Like with the affinity keeps, there will be a set schedule for each day's affinity, meaning you can plan your siege ahead of time. Each affinity will have 15 stages at launch, and your progression is unique to each affinity. This means
note that 1 key max, and we get 6 per day.
You can't focus all your efforts getting to stage 15 on the Magic affinity, for example, to unlock the stages for all other affinities. Keeping track of the current affinity is vital for success in this dungeon, as you'll see when we break down the Iron Twins skills. As for entering the dungeon, you'll need energy and a new resource, Fortress Keys. Like with Faction Crypts in the Doom Tower, you only get a set number of Fortress Keys each day, 6 to be exact. So make sure you use them. If you fail a stage, you won't lose a Fortress Key, but you will lose the energy, so keep an eye on your reserves. We know how to enter the fortress, now let's talk about its masters, the Iron Twins. As soon as you enter the dungeon, you launch straight into a battle with the Iron Twins. There are no waves of minions to fight here. This is a good thing, given that the Iron Twins are as tough as literal nails, you know, being a huge metal monstrosity. But before we dive into the Iron Twins' individual skills, we need to talk about Iron Brand, their unique unblockable and unremovable debuff. On its
Unblockable, unremovable, but it can be resisted. Keep that in mind.
own, Iron Brand does nothing, but you should keep a sharp eye on the debuff's duration on each of your champions. The Iron Twins have a super powerful skill that does major damage depending on the current duration of any Iron Brand debuffs, so failing to manage this debuff is a recipe for disaster. With that out of the way, let's dig into exactly what the Iron Twins have in their arsenal. The first skill is Voltaic Pendulums. This sees the Iron Twins firing 2 bladed pendulums at 1 champion, decreasing their crit rate and then placing a weakened debuff if they already have crit rate debuffs. The Twins then electrocute the rest of the party, first decreasing their attack before then decreasing the defense of each champion who has a decreased attack debuff on them.
All of this can be cleansed and removed or resisted.
Talk about shocking. So, first tip, bring a champion who can cleanse debuffs or block them entirely. While it won't negate Iron Brand, it will take any other debuffs the Iron Twins can throw at you off the table. Trust us, you'll need to be at your full strength if you want to come out on top. Next up, Fires of Insanity.
When I say all of this, I mean everything except for Firebrand, right? The A1 abilities.
The Iron Twins scorch your entire party and place Iron Brand debuffs on each champion, with the duration of each Iron Brand dependent on each champion's defense stat. The champion with the highest defense gets 10 turns of Iron Brand, the next highest gets 9, the next gets 8, and so on. If a champion
the more turns, the more damage they take.
That's not all. Oh no. Every time the Iron Twins use this skill, their defense stat increases by a set amount for the rest of the battle, with extra increases for every champion.
So these extra affinity or extra increases for every champion of a different affinity is going to add up a ton. That's why I say it looks like we're just going to have 4 separate teams, right? I'm always vigilant, looking out for how is Plarium going to be making their money off of this feature whenever anything new comes to the game. One of the ways is making us build 4 separate teams for this boss, which I think is going to be the case. It remains to be seen. Could endgame teams get away or maybe overpowering against early level stages with different affinities? I'm sure that will be the case, but I think that for the majority of us, how the mechanics work, we're definitely going to want to avoid other affinities against the affinity that we're facing.
Different affinity to theirs. This is why you need to pay attention to the dungeon's current affinity. Bring champions with the wrong affinities, and you'll make the Iron Twins even stronger. And they'll keep getting stronger every time they use this skill. You also need to manage your champion's defense stats, as those with higher stats will receive longer Iron Brand debuffs. Remember, the longer the duration of Iron Brand, the more damage the Iron Twins will do with their super-powered skill, which we're getting to, I promise. There is one silver lining at least. Once the Iron Twins drop below 40% HP, they'll stop using the skill, though getting them to that point is a different story. Okay, skill 3, Ruinous Swath. Ruinous Swath mirrors Fires of Insanity, except this skill applies Iron Brand based on your champion's attack rather than their defense. The champion with the highest attack gets the
So it's the same exact thing on the other twin, if you will, his ability, but it's going to be based on attack instead of defense, okay? The number of turns of the Firebrand that they get still won't be available on 40% or less HP.
Discuss this super-powered skill which puts them to use. Enter Doomsday Machine, the Iron Twins' 4th skill. To start, the Iron Twins attack your entire team with 2 AoE hits. The first hit applies or extends any Iron Brand debuffs based on each champion's defense, with the second doing the same but based on attack. Think of it like the 2 previous skills rolled into one. Fortunately, it will increase the duration of Iron Brand by fewer turns. The champion with the highest attack or defense will get 5 turns of Iron Brand, the next highest will get 4, the next highest 3, and you get the picture. But remember, it does this twice, so if one champion has more attack and defense than the rest of your team, they'll receive another 10 turns of Iron Brand. The Iron Twins then fire a devastating laser at your entire team, with the damage of this energy beam increasing based on the duration of each Iron Brand debuff.
So that laser, that's what is dictated by the amount of turns of the firebrand.
If that's not scary enough, this Searing Ray ignores 30% of your champion's defense stat. And it also increases the Iron Twins' attack and defense by 4% with each use. Plus an extra little bit once again for any champions whose affinity is different to theirs. Holy moly, that's some serious damage. Also, just as a little reminder that Iron Brand cannot be blocked or removed, hopefully now you understand why managing Iron Brand is vital to succeeding in this fight. Otherwise, you'll be sweeping up what remains of your champions with a broom. There's still one more weapon in the Iron Twins' arsenal, and that's their passive skill, Retaliatory Launch. Every time their HP drops below a certain threshold, the Twins fire a missile barrage at your whole team, then remove any debuffs from themselves. The Twins will also increase their turn meter by 10% every time one of your champions receives a buff, unless they're under a decreased speed debuff.
So decreased speed is going to be really, really crucial. I think almost mandatory for all the teams that I build. At least I'm going to keep an eye out for decreased speed champions. Decreased speed, maybe a high resist team, a cleanser on the team as well. Maybe even some like raw heals. That way we avoid those buffs in case the decreased speed is not up there against the boss. What do you guys think about the boss, aesthetically and generally speaking? To me, I think it looks pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. He's got kind of the Iron Machine vibe going on with the laser beams and the molten, kind of. Is there lava? Is there fire? Fire? There we go.
Similar to other bosses, they are immune to turn meter reduction effects, along with crowd control debuffs like stun and freeze. They also take less and less damage from multi-hit skills that aren't.
Okay, there's literally no fire, but he does have missile launchers.
Armor's not made of normal iron, we'll tell you that much. So, what's the best way to send this killing machine to the scrap heap? First, you'll need to build separate teams for each affinity. The more champions with differing affinities, the stronger the Iron Twins will get from many of its skills. So aim for single affinity teams where you can. Second, resistance is your friend. While Iron Brand can't be blocked or removed, it can be resisted. So load your
So wouldn't the best strategy just load up with super high resist on everybody? Don't even have to worry about their premier ability in Iron Brand?
champions up with high resistance are.
I don't know, maybe it's easier said than done, but I mean, it's going to depend on how much resistance we need to get. But even with an increased resist champion on the team with high resist, maybe it could be a breeze. I don't know.
Effects to blunt the power of Doomsday Machine. Third, while healing is important to survive the Twins' onslaught, be mindful of buffs. Unless you've placed the decreased speed debuff on the Twins, they'll increase their turn meter every time your champion receives a buff, meaning they're closer to taking you out. Fourth, and most importantly, focus on hitting hard and hitting fast. With the Twins' attack and defense constantly ticking up, they will overpower you if you let them kick into overdrive. Don't bother with multi-hit skills either. Single-hit nukes are your best countermeasure for toppling this devastating duo. We can't wait to see what ironclad strategies you all employ to take on this new dungeon.
All right, guys, that is it. What do you think of the Iron Twins? Now you know all their abilities, all of their mechanics. Honestly, I don't want to say underwhelmed because I'm cool with it. However, I do think there's going to be some solutions, some ways that we can tackle this boss. Unlike when they threw Hydra at us, right? It's like, dude, I'm just going to have to try this out in game because this is way too confusing. All these different heads with different abilities, thinking about what type of team comp is going to make the most sense. But this, I'm thinking high resist, bring a decreased speed champion. Decreased speed champions to prevent, that turn meter increase is going to be really, really beneficial. Allows you to carry buffs in the battle on all your other champions as well. So I'm going to bring one, if not two, decreased speed champions. We saw enemy max HP. We saw Cold Heart being used there. Okay, that's my DPS. I'll use Cold Heart too. Why not, right? Depending on the affinity, of course, having maybe one of those enemy max HP champions. There's Husk, Royal Guard, Septimus, and Cold Heart. I know not most people have all of them, but looking out for those champions as we, pull them, I guess you're going to keep them no matter what, right? But also having a cleanser on your team, right? There's no penalties for reviving either. So, man, it looks like, I got to be honest, guys, it looks like he's not going to be, he's going to be challenging. It looks like he's hits hard. One of the more challenging bosses, certainly compared to the other dungeon bosses. I would expect him to be more difficult than Spider and Ice Golem and Fire Knight, etc., Dragon. However, he looks like we can do this. We can do this, right? And we need to do it because we need those soul stones and we need to awaken our champions, guys. In terms of the other thing that I gleamed here, again, we get 6 keys a day, only 1 key per battle. So that leads me to believe we can use 6 battles. We do waste energy if we fail, so be cognizant of that. We're not used to that in Faction Wars and in Doom Towers. So usually we don't lose our keys if we fail. So we just keep going and going, kind of testing out different comps. Keep in mind, you will be burning your energy if you do that, guys. All right, I'll be back with you guys later on today with another video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want news-related content like this as soon as it is available to share with you guys. I appreciate you, and as always, take care, guys.